Good evening and welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me this evening is none other than Coach Hatcher and the former heavyweight champion of the world, James Bonecrusher Smith. Coach, I've watched this I'm going to call him a young man, watched his career. He had some very exciting times inside the ring. And tonight we just want to get some of those feelings and the outpouring of gratitude that he has for a sport like boxing that made him who he is today. But Coach, I know you know this gentleman personally, so give us a take of what Burn Crusher means to you and your organization.
Well, sports inside and out over the years, we're the voice of the legends of sports, not just with our National Basketball Retired Players Association that we're involved with, but every NFL alumni and boxing, of course, with James, and as you know about our relationship with the greatest track legends, and of course we deal with every aspect of it, and those we don't deal with it, of course, Earl, your show, the Bermuda Sports Network, is doing such a great job in being that voice. Hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about how we're going to unify and expedite that. But James, oh man, we've been knowing each other a long time. I think we first started mixing in when James was a great uh, 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 was very flexible in this. He's the first heavyweight champion in the world, and still as of today, that has a college degree. People don't realize how shrewd he is. He may act kind of what you call bellicose at times, but behind that scene is a strategically intelligent man, a man that's really caring, is very spiritual, and it came into our lives with Wally and all of us. I mean, yeah, as you know that even Carlos, John Carlos, told me to tell you, James, uh, you'll always be dear to him. And believe it or not, I didn't know about the Palm Springs, I think it was, James. But anyway, I ain't gonna talk about that right now. But James has been very accessible to everything that we do with the Legends of Sports, Earl. And Bermuda, okay, has actually been a linchpin in James's career. He called me the other day. I'm not trying to be too overbearing on his initiative, but he called me the other day and said, "Hey, don't forget, give Earl something that I just thought about. That one of my most important fights in the linchpin of my career was done right in Bermuda." And I think Bermuda, as a proxy for sports internationally, James made sure he remembered that because it must have been a very pleasant experience. He done beat somebody up, but it's something that is him. He's actively involved in everything. Of course, his children and helping kids. His Champion for Kids program is one of the apex. We also support that in so many ways. And of course, what he does with the African American greatest boxers in history and other athletes, that he's doing something he'll explain to you, is something that is overdue, and one of the greatest assets that some of our great boxing legends need. I mean, he's got some of the greats in cream de la cream, from Buster Douglas, Michael Spinks, all the guys. And he's the Pied Piper of them, and we are going to support him and always have in any way, because he always comes out for what we want, from the military to the kids, to the veterans, to the VA. He is truly a Renaissance man. And with that being, we thank the world of him. He's one of my favorite friends. He's always there for prayer, always there for support. And like I said, Wally Jones says, listen, one person we know we can always count on would be the champ. And that's why we always make sure he's included and let people know he has such a fantastic story. Now, he got a story, and hopefully, God willing, we have enough time for him to go through that routine from his birth to his his raising up in North Carolina, outside of Fayetteville, to his military, to his college experiences, and then we get into what he did in the ring. And God, hopefully, Earl, you can bring it out of him. Sometimes he gets kind of reserved, or kind of solemn, but we like to bring him out and show that side of James Bonecrusher Smith that has endeared him with all of the legends of sports, not just boxing, basketball, football, golf. He is endeared in all of it. So we can't have a program or initiative of any content in sports without the great James Bonecrusher Smith. And believe me, he earned that name. When Mike Tyson said he hit him the hardest he ever been hit in his life, take it for granted. This guy has a fist as big as a refrigerator. So, and watch him. You know, but anyway, you are with his new dear wife. She's a peach of a wife, and she's so endeared to us now because of their legends, and with my wife Maxilla, of course, who's our associate producer. We look for big things when we get involved with Tim Reed coming up, as well as for you, Earl. We're going to have a big announcement, God willing, coming up. What Tim told me today is going to knock your socks off, Earl. And the Allen Nation, I should say, of Bermuda. We really look forward to it. But right now, let's talk about it, Earl, and turn it over to you, because you got the questions for the news that your listeners can use. And this is him, the great James Bonecrusher Smith. James.
Well, I can't beat that introduction, that's for sure. So tell us a bit about growing up, Mr. Smith, about how things were when you were coming along before you even entered the sport of boxing.
Well, I started when I was about 6 years old. I was a little crybaby. You're looking at me now, how big I am. You can't hardly believe I was ever little. But at 6 years old, I was a crybaby. And I had convinced myself I was not going to school, but nobody told my mom and daddy. So they had me dropped off my first grade teacher's class, crying, kicking and screaming, telling my teacher, I don't like you. I don't want to be here. And I'm going home to my mom and daddy. I started running from her. And had I known that later in my life, I'd have to have 3 knee replacements, brain surgery, a broken bone in the back, recently ankle surgery, and I'd have walked some of those times I ran. But once my teacher caught me, she started beating me with a fan belt. You know what a fan belt is?
Yes.
It makes the car run. It made me run too. She sent a note by me to my mom, and the rule was, if I got a whooping at school, I was going to get at least one more when I got home. Mama said, she looked at me and she said, Odell, which is my real middle name, go get me a switch. And I was smart even back then. I got the smallest switch I could find. Mama broke that switch. She looked at me and said, I said, go get me a switch. So I had to go back in the woods and get a bigger switch. Now turn around, Odell. She hit me with that switch. She was pronouncing words. Didn't I tell you if you got a whooping at school, I was going to whoop you too? I got mad with my mama. Daddy came home. Daddy whooped me with his belt, and I got mad with Daddy. So at age 6, I made 2 decisions. 1, I was going to school. And 2, if I ever got grown, I was going to whoop some people. I whooped a lot of people in my time. But the maddest I've ever been was December 1986. I was suing the great promoter, Don King. You heard of Don King.
Yes.
He had promised me a world title fight, and he didn't give it. So I got me another promoter, and he started suing me for breach of contract. And I started suing him. So he calls me up and said, Bonecrusher, this is Donald King. And I pretended I didn't hear him. I said, who? He said, this is Don King. I said, hey, Don, how you doing, brother? He said, Bone, I want to settle this lawsuit with you. I'm going to give you the world title fight, and I'm going to give you some money, too. I said, well, Don, that's awesome. I said, Don, who is the fight with? When is it? And where is it going to be? He said, well, I got some bad news, Bone. I said, what's that, Don? He said, the fight will be against the guy that beat you last year, Tim Witherspoon. I said, uh-oh. And my mind immediately went back decades, and I remember those whoopings I got from my teacher, my mama, my daddy, and the year before in Las Vegas, Witherspoon. Mm-hmm. I said, Don, when is this fight, and where is it going to be? He said, Bone, the fight is going to be on HBO television. You got a chance to redeem yourself on HBO. I said, Don, when is this fight and where is it going to be? He said, Bon, the fight will be at Madison Square Garden, New York, and it's going to be next week. I said, Don, you mean to tell me you're going to give me a 7-day notice to fight a guy, and the last time I had plenty of time to train, get ready, and he beat me all across the ring? He said, yeah, take it or leave it. I said, Don, can you give me a minute to think about it? Yeah. I said, well, Don, I was old when I started boxing, 28. That's old. I said, but I have a dream, Don. I said, I'm not Martin Luther King, but I have a dream. After I knocked Witherspoon out, and I did, after I write a book or mad, make a decision, because I'm mad with you and Witherspoon, many years from now, I can see it way down the road, being on a Zoom cast, a podcast, a show with a guy named Earl and a guy named Coach Hatcher. And here we are today. And I knocked Witherspoon out in the first round to become heavyweight champion of the world because I'd gone to college at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. I became the first college grad to become heavyweight champion of the world. And when I did it, I really didn't know I became the first heavyweight to win the title at Madison Square Garden. All the fights has been at the Garden. And then the next year, I became the first guy to take Mike Tyson 12 rounds when he was a fighter and not a biter.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, one of the things that I admired about you was you never backed away from anything. You always took on those challenges, and no matter what was in front of you. And I didn't even know that Don King had given you 7 days, and that's just reminiscent of what I think you are is a fighter that's willing to take on any challenge, no matter what it is, face it on, and even in some defeats, you were still the person that you are today, that person that would never, ever give up until somebody says, that's it, you can't take it no more. So where did that drive and that passion for the sport of boxing come from?
My parents, I had both parents, and they taught me how to work and work hard. We grew up on a farm, and they taught me, my grandmom taught me about Jesus Christ and, believing in God, and that gave me the spirit and the wisdom and the foresight and the attitude that don't give up and just keep working. Just keep working and working, and things work out. And just believe. That's part of salvation, is just believe that Jesus died for our sins, and everything else, it just falls into place.
Sure. So Coach, I know you because Mr. Smith here. Ask him something that kind of you visualized with him or saw him do that kind of said, wow, I'm glad I know this man and he's my friend.
Well, I guess I keep falling back to, I tell my wife Max, everybody I see, it's now pretty much every legend. He's not very well known with all the guys. They love him to death. But also they know that he is really a sound spiritual guy now, and is actually ordained. God bless his soul. I love him to death. But his thing is his dexterity, his determination. He has a dual facade. When he needs to be what he has to be, he has a way of flicking a switch and he's there. But off this switch, he is such a gentle, considerate, funny, and spiritual guy who is enjoyable to be around, but also he knows how to turn himself into a business mode. I've seen so many things, and the things that I've seen is that James doesn't talk much about it, but he's defended and beat a whole multitude of heavyweight champions. He defended and won the championship again from the likes of Mike Weaver and all these guys. But one particular fight that sticks to me even better than Larry Holmes is that he went to England with a fighter named Bruno, a huge white fighter. I mean, everybody. If you know anything about England, I'm quite sure you do, Earl. Mm-hmm. That's a hard place for an American to fight. And he went into that arena in England And everybody just counted him out. No way you gonna beat Bruno. The big, I don't know if you remember him, Earl, Bruno. It was a European champion. He was he was the talk of the world. And James went in there with one thing in mind, get and take care of business and go home. And believe it or not, when he came in, I want him to do it to embellish this just a little bit, because not only is humorous, it shows you determination and taking care of business and the way you focus yourself to be. And without all these things, he quieted I don't know how many people were there, 10, 15,000 people, but he really embarrassed the heavyweight champion of Europe. And that, when he came home, that was something that we saw and was a part of. And this was during the time we were still playing European professional basketball. And we were extremely proud of him. But the other thing is that how he was in the Army, people don't know he's a veteran of the United States Army. And he took that same determination and those values, not only from home, but the things you learn in the military, to be the type of person that he is, the discipline and things of that nature. He took that into boxing and created a persona for himself. And he gives back. With the veterans, I can always call on them, Earl, anywhere in the country. My wife worked at Hampton VA for many years, and we were just going all over the place, and been in many VAs, and he, without a doubt, just dropped everything, bought he takes his championship belt with him. Earl, this is something that everybody wants to see, but he lets them take pictures. He lets them give them the best moment of enjoyment and pride as anyone can be with these veterans. Many of them handicapped, of course, paraplegic, and many of them going through this post-stress, this PST. He makes himself available. And believe me, even in Bermuda, when we were there a couple of times together, he was very quick to talk to the military people of not only the police department, but those who serve in the armed forces in England. So to me, he's it. He's the real deal. He is something that to be admired and be proud to be associated with, because he's one of the many guys. I can honestly say that James can tell you this, that he joins the guys in Sports Inside and Out, and I can honestly say that every member that we have in our cadre of the greatest sports legends in the world, every one of them are staunch, good citizens. They are great people, and they love the Lord. And that's been a magnet that we have. He can tell you something about Reverend Sharpton, too. I don't know if he wants to. He can tell you about Reverend Sharpton a little bit, too, now, But,
you want me to say a couple words about that?
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Well, I back in '85, I think it was '85, they called me, and they had a fight with Mike Weaver, former heavyweight champion Mike Weaver, and it was a TV fight. And when I got to the press conference, his manager says, "Well, when Mike knocked you out, Bonecrusher says, we're gonna fight Larry Holmes." I said, "Well, how do you know? How do you figure you're gonna knock me out?" So kind of upset me, so I jumped on him. I knocked him out in the first round. And so Michael Holmes was fighting Michael Spinks in Las Vegas. So I get on the airplane and I fly to Las Vegas, and the first person I see is Al Sharpton, Reverend Al Sharpton. Mm-hmm. And he came up to me and says, Bonecrusher says, "My name is Reverend Al Sharpton, and everybody talking about you knocking out Mike Weaver on CBS." He said, "I bet if we go up to see Don, he's going to put you in there with Larry." I said, "Well, how do you know Larry Holmes is going to beat Michael Spinks?" He said, "Never before has a light heavyweight champion beaten the heavyweight champion, especially one like Larry Holmes." So Larry had talked about Rocky Marciano, and at that time, Larry was undefeated. And somehow or another, they must have made a deal with Michael Spinks to run around the ring, and he did it for 15 rounds. And the new heavyweight champion of the world, Michael Spinks. A lot of people saw that happen. They don't know how it happened, and everything that, and that's happened to a lot of fights. People don't know what happens behind the scenes to make a fight happen. And that's how I dealt with Al Sharpton.
Sure.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have more with the former heavyweight champion of the world, Bonecrusher Smith. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Well, Bonecrusher, so when you came along, especially heavyweights, they were dominated by American fighters. Now we see that kind of shifting, especially in the heavyweight division. Why do you think it's turning out like that? Why do you think a lot of the American boxers are kind of getting away from the heavyweights? Do you think your punches destroyed anybody thinking about being a heavyweight?
Well, I really don't know how to answer that question, but I think there's still some possibility. There's still some hope out there. I think the young heavyweights need to just stay in the gym and get a good trainer and just work hard. And I think a lot of times now big guys are going to football instead of boxing. And but I think the door is still open, even though you just have to spend some time on it with it.
And talk about your fight right here in Bermuda. I mean, because a lot of Bermudians will remember you from that fight. But take us through how that got set up, first of all, and just your time in Bermuda entertaining.
Yeah, well, I think Sam Glass was the promoter, and he was the guy I called on, when I had the trouble with Don, and he was a lawyer, and he actually sued Don for me. And so I fought Jesse Ferguson there. And Jesse Ferguson was a pretty good fighter, and but I wanted a decision. And Hamilton, Bermuda is beautiful. Bermuda is beautiful. So I look forward to going back real soon. When we going, Coach?
Get squared away with Earl and his constituency in Bermuda. I look forward something. We're talking just a little bit more, Bone, on the conclave of it with Earl, and get something for the island nation of Bermuda to really look forward to and be proud of, because, as you said, some of the greatest sports legends in the world that have been there, maybe coming back, but have not been there. I think that you got something as a great proxy with Bermuda sports, with Earl Baskin and of course David Baskin. I think it's going to be something very special coming up with one of the Emmy and multi award-winning actors and producers in Hollywood, Mr. Tim Reed, who's really doing a fantastic job in the film industry and storytelling. And we'll give a little bit about that, not that much, but this is something that Earl will be able to descend a little bit. But Bone, you know, if we go back to Bermuda, you know that the champ will be there. So that's without saying. You know?
Thank you very much.
So which fight stands out most in your mind as the fight that you kind of made your name for yourself, and the people that doubted you were kind of now saying, okay, he's a legitimate champion or he's a legitimate title contender? Which fight was that?
I mean, I Coach mentioned it a while ago, and I kind of agree with that. And that fight kind of put me out there. I went to London, England, Wembley Arena, NBC, and Frank Bruno was 21-0 with 21 knockouts. He had knocked out everybody he fought. And matter of fact, when I flew into England, London, Heathrow Airport, there was about 50 news media there, cameras and stuff. And so I asked him, where was Frank Bruno? Why didn't he come meet me at the airport? And I said, I'm going to knock him out. And I just kept saying it from the time I got there until the actual fight and until it happened. I just kept saying it. And one of the news media asked me, he said, a Bonecrusher, how do you feel you're going to knock Frank out? And I says, I asked him, have you ever heard of LL Cool J? And yeah, and Mama said, knock you out. So I kind of wheeled that in. It's amazing how if you speak something and really believe it and work at it, you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And of course, obviously throughout life, there's disappointments in the ring. What would you say was your biggest disappointment in the ring?
Well, my biggest regret in the ring was not knocking Tyson out. I mean, I could have knocked Tyson out. Looking back at it, I mean, I waddled him in the last round, but I was a little bit too defensive in that fight. Had I taken the fight to Tyson the way I took it to Witherspoon, I'd have knocked him out too, because Mike is a lot smaller than me, and I think I punch harder than him.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that particular fight, it was a big anticipation for that, because here was Bonecrusher, the hardest hitter in the sport, facing off against this guy who at the time looked invincible. But as you said, you staggered him, but unfortunately you came out on the wrong side. But throughout that era, you came up with the likes of, you named them, Larry Holmes and others. And before you was the Fraziers, the Alis and all that. Which boxer did you want to emulate as you came along and started your career?
Well, I like George Foreman. I think a lot of people, matter of fact, people have called me George Foreman. Yeah, George was a big puncher, but Muhammad Ali motivated me. He's the one motivated me to get into boxing. His mouth and his ability to box, and I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him, and so he really encouraged me to do what I did.
Yeah, Coach. One of the things I remember, especially in the movie Ali, where you see George Foreman just laying off and punching the bag, And I'm sitting there saying, my gracious, if he hits someone and he gets to the ribs, it's going to be, something of destruction. But seeing someone like Bonecrusher hit someone and you know that he's landed the punch, how did that make you cringe, Coach? Because I cringed a lot of times watching him box.
And listen, that goes to everybody who's ever seen Bonecrusher fight. Mike Tyson physically was whooped, and when he got in the dressing room with his deceased or former manager, he had to say that that Bonecrusher hit him the hardest that he's ever been hit in his life. And he said he really thought he was gone. Bonecrusher was gifted with something that not just was in strength. He had a thing called intensity strength. He could bring strength up out of his heart or out of his being within one punch. He could actually wait and do enough boxing to set it up for one right hand. That's why he was so feared. When they say about a one puncher, I think someone said it probably best was a guy named Shavers. Said that he was the most feared fighter of his decade, but never given the credit. Bone was a flashy. He was not. He gave you exactly what he's going to give you. He's going to give you everything he got. And oddly enough, Bone never got knocked out. And that says something within itself with the Tysons, all these big time guys, and Holmes they could never knock Bonecrusher out, but they could receive a couple of hits that they can always remember that he gave. But I think his drive, his intensity, his belief in himself, and of course his love of the Lord, and he always fought for not just himself. It looks like he fought for his family, for North Carolina. He brought it all to the table. If you doubted me, he would say, you won't doubt me at the end of the fight. That's the kind of thing. And when we saw him fight, we were looking at the four tops. You will believe it or not. We were actually checking the four tops out. And the fight was coming on, so we had to leave. We had to see what Jays would do. Lord and behold, the fight didn't last but 2 rounds. Then we came back to watch the rest of the concert. But all seriousness, though, he's a specimen. And I know that if you want to see, his fist is still big now. It may be a little rusty, but all you got to do is tell Bone, can I see your fist a minute? It'll cover his own head. So, the power was in his gift and his intelligence, because regardless of what anyone say, he had a method to his madness. He was a very, very strategic and intelligent person. So he knew what he was doing. That's what I was saying. Watch those flicks that he turned on. He can give you something that you want to see and give you something that you don't want to see. So I'm very proud of him to call him a friend. And every member of our cadre of great legends have nothing but respect for him, because they love him to death. He is what he is. And when he's your friend, he's your friend. I'm not going to say any more letters, but I can tell him that John Carlos told me something very interesting about Palm Springs. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. We won't say that. We won't say what John Carlos had to say.
So Bonecrusher, you said at 6 years old you were this crybaby. When did you develop this punching power, and where did it come from?
On the farm, you probably seen boxes chop wood.
Yes.
But that was just a photo op. But we had to chop wood to stay warm. So that was our form of heat. So hay bales. I had to lift weights. Hay bales and pick corn, different things on the farm, and it just I developed some power doing that.
Going into your first title fight and coming out victorious, back in the locker room, what's some of the things that, because you have a chance to reflect by yourself at times. What was one of the first things came to mind when you got back into the locker room and you got a chance to be by yourself?
Well, the first title fight was Larry Holmes. I mean, in '84, and then when I actually won the title, that was '86. But you want me to talk about '86?
Talk about '86, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it all happened so fast. I mean, but I was mad, and because Witherspoon had beat me the year before, I was really upset. I was upset with him and Don King, and kind of like I said earlier, telling that story. But it's amazing what happens when you get mad. I mean, and if you get real mad, you don't even think about what you got to do. You just go out and do it, And a lot of people get killed like that way because they're in a heat of passion and they act before they think about it, And that's basically what happened to me. I mean, I just took action.
Sure. And what did you learn after beating Witherspoon or taking up the opportunity to fight him a second time, especially for the title fight? What did you learn in the first fight that you changed in that second one? I mean, it only lasted a round. It didn't even last a round, but yeah.
Setting a fast pace, and don't wait. Don't wait. And some of the fights I just waited too long. But when I turned it on and let my punches go, and that's what Emil Griffith told me, 6-time world champion Emil Griffith was my trainer. He's all you got to do is move your hands, and nobody can stand up with you.
Well, we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with former world heavyweight champion of the world, James Bonecrusher Smith. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, it's interesting, Bonecrusher. You have this degree in business administration. So why boxing? Why not going into the?
I took care of business in the ring.
Administratively, right?
I administered business in the ring.
I'm glad I didn't have to meet you in the ring at any time. So that for me, that's good. That's good. And your time, because a lot of people only know of you in the ring, and I heard Coach say, you were in the military and all. So was that something you always wanted to do? Was serve in the military?
Well, yeah, but I had heard of situations where guys would go in the army or military and they boxed in the military. So I was thinking that I could box in the military, and basically I did, and that was pretty much all I did was box for the military. So that was my job in the military as an amateur boxer. So that kind of got me started. So I guess you can say I did that, and the rest is history.
Sure. You had a record of 35-4 in the military, so that kind of set you up for your professional career.
Yeah.
So take us through. Well, obviously you qualified for the Olympics as well.
I didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Oh, you missed out. Yeah, the qualifier. I'm sorry, you lost in the qualifier for the Olympics.
No. I didn't participate in that.
You didn't?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Now I just went to the gym and started boxing. I just started doing it. I just came out of nowhere and started doing it.
Okay, but you said you got into it late. I guess a pro. You said 28.
Yeah.
So, looking at your age going pro, you thought that was the right time, or it was now or never kind of thing?
Kind of now or never. And looking back, I wish I'd have started. Well, who knows? I don't know if I could have done it any better than what I did it. That was the way I was supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Coach, you want to jump in?
The thing that I think that people could take from James is his dedication to the former world champions. He took it upon himself to do something that I think that the public needs to do and sports fans need to know, is that the WNBA, all these great champions and things of that nature, some went into the Hall of Fame, but some were never really appreciated as other fighters or white fighters or who they may be. And James came up with something that, believe this or not, he's a former heavyweight champion, numerous title bouts that's defended, went overseas to defeat some of the greatest European fighters or champions ever. And I want the fans to know, did you know that last time I was in the Boxing Hall of Fame there in New York, if I remember correctly, we were there with Bone one time. And we were there doing a thing with, I think it was Too Tall Jones, I believe it was. I'm not quite sure, it reflects back a little bit more that I may not be able to make it, but out of all those boxers in that little teeny, and believe me, the Hall of Fame ain't big, but they have not selected the former heavyweight champion of the world, James Bonecrusher Smith, the first heavyweight champion to ever have a college degree, the first heavyweight champion who stood the annals of tribulation that make himself what he is today, countless numbers of defending his title and winning, and also putting himself out there to be the type of role model he is. It really is something that's a disgrace, Earl, or any boxing fans out there. Earl, I think Don Elborn, a great boxing matchmaker, said it best. He's a Hall of Fame matchmaker with all-time WNBA or World Boxing matchmaker with Don King. He said, it is truly a disgrace that James Bonecrusher Smith is not, out of all what he's done, Earl, as far as a heavyweight champion and everything, he's not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. He's not in the Boxing Hall of Fame. It is a tragedy. It is something that should never even come to a pass, but it also shows you the political correctness of things, even with accolades of the greatest sports legend, particularly if you're African American. So that has been clarified and ratified by James developing his first boxing Hall of Fame, Black Boxing Hall of Fame of all the boxing legends in the game, as well as those outside the game, by bringing these type of people. Now, thank God that, and I'm very happy that he even put me into consideration for it. But he's done this on his own, and have the support of Buster Douglas, Michael Spinks, all of the former heavyweight champions, and even Mike Tyson are in support of this thing. So this is the next major step, I think, that Bone Khalif, for his legacy, is doing something for all the African American former heavyweight champions and champions in the boxing field, that they can have their own boxing Hall of Fame, and their constituency of the African American race of people of color will have something that they can say that, yes, this is theirs, and not have to go through the logistics of the being politically or racially correct.
Yeah.
We created the Hall of Fame a few years ago, and each year, we bring the guys in, boxing legends in. Like Coach said, we've had Michael Spinks come in basically every year, and then Ernie Shavers come in. You know, Ernie just died not long ago, and Michael Spinks and Buster Douglas came last year, and we try to do something every year. We're not going to do it this year, but we will be doing it again in 2023. And we're looking at some property now, and I think within the next 2 years we'll actually have a building, a Boxing Legend Hall of Fame museum in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And Myrtle Beach is a vacation destination, so we just thought it'd be a great thing. People love to come to Myrtle Beach, take vacation, they come to the Hall of Fame museum.
Without a doubt, that's a great idea, and I'm glad that the other boxers or former boxers, have supported it and look forward to something that they can call a home, that people will be able to come from all around to learn more about what you guys went through in life to become heavyweight champions of the world, or just champions of the world. Because no matter what, whenever that bell sounds and your name is announced as the champion, basically you're the champion of the world, because it's a world sport. It's not just an American sport; it's a world sport. And I think that kind of goes through a lot of people in a lot of countries. Respect that title holder for however long that person holds that reign. They would always have that heavyweight champion of the world title, no matter where they go. And I know that when you were in Bermuda last, Bonecrusher, that's how you were introduced everywhere you went. And heavyweight champion of the world, heavyweight champion of the world. And those are the type of things that I know us here in Bermuda like to learn more about the person that is Bonecrusher Smith. So we're getting ready to wrap this up, but tell us something that you want people to remember you by, and just from you.
I think people should love their family, to love their parent, to honor their parents. The Bible says, honor your mother and your father, and your days should be long. So I think we should have respect. My parents are gone now, but I think the young people should honor their parents and do basically what the parents ask them to do, because their parents, they're not going to tell them to do something that's bad. And just do what's right. Just do what's right, and believe that Jesus Christ is our Savior, and the Spirit of God will direct our path.
Well, I personally want to thank you, and Coach, I want to thank you as well, only because what you've been able to help us develop here can only make us stronger collectively together. And again, I'm pretty sure that what Tim Reed has gotten plans for, and as well as hopefully we get this off the ground in Bermuda. I think it'll be a lot of people that will be appreciative of not just you, but of the organization that you bring. People like the former heavyweight champion of the world, but Jim Bonecrusher Smith, and many others. I think this is something that we can build on, and I'm hoping that those that make the decisions come and make a decision really, really fast, because it will benefit many of us.
Yes, I totally agree, Earl. The planets have aligned, and I really believe that the Lord is moved in a mighty way to be able to bring this type of programming worldwide. And that's what this program that Tim is doing with Legacy in the Virgin Islands is about to do. So I congratulate you, Earl, and the country of Bermuda for being one of the forefronts of sports news. And we look forward into integrating that news content worldwide now. And I think it'll be a tremendous thing, and Bermuda has a lot to be proud of. And we, as well as our staff, my wife and all, and Tim Reed and all of our legends, such as Bonecrusher and more, we look forward to be a part of this new transition of making sure that the lives and history of those that help make the game of professional sports in any genre or another is here. When sports is adhered to, then our young will be able to know, first of all, the history of things that make them popular within the sports genre of today. So it's all you, man. I'm happy with David Bascom. Things are moving in a mighty, mighty way, not just for our program and all of our legends, but for the island nation of Bermuda to take a vanguard in what we're trying to do and be something special, such as what you have on your show. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Bonecrusher, I want to thank you very, very much for sharing your time with us. I know, you're a busy person, but the love that you've given us tonight, I think it'll be remembered for a mighty long time. But I want you to end. Show me that fist.
It's gonna be a knockout.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your night.
Thank you, Coach.